Hello and welcome to Crazy Knitting Nana. I'm Kathy. If this is if you are a return viewer, then welcome back. Today I'm going to teach you how to purl and how to decrease and how to bind off. So by now you should have about 44 stitches on your needles. I do not. So this way I can just show you how to do like I said, how to purl, decrease, and bind off. So I didn't want too many stitches on my needle. And like I said in the last video, you need to try to get up to 44 stitches. If you did, you did. If you got tired and bored with it and stopped, that's fine too. So today we're going to work back down to the 4 stitches, but we're going to do it purl-wise this time. So, if you remember, when you learned to knit, we went in this way, so between the knot and the needle in the loop. We went that way with the right needle under the left needle. Today, we're going to take the needle under your yarn because you want it towards you or toward the front. Okay, so the yarn is up front and the needle's underneath it. Your right needle today is going to go in from the front between the knot and the needle in the front loop. And your right needle is going to be on top of your left needle. And you're going to go over top of your right needle and underneath it. So over top, it's a little difficult there, over top and underneath it. And just like knitting, you're going to pull that stitch through, leaving it on your right needle and letting it fall off your left needle. Sorry, I caught split a stitch, so I had to fix that. And that does happen when you do knit. Sometimes your stitches will split, so you want to watch that because it will leave a little hole. Now, to decrease, we need to purl 2 stitches together. Normally you would, well, not normally. Most of the time you knit 2 together to decrease, or you may do other decreases, but this one we're going to learn to purl 2 together. So you're going to take your right needle, go in through the first loop on the left needle and through the second loop on the left needle. So you have 2 loops on your needle. And you're going to bring your yarn over top of your right needle and under your right needle. And bring it back through, keeping that 1 stitch on your right needle and pushing the 2 stitches off your left needle. That's a decrease. Now, we still have to do our yarn over because you want it to look the same on both sides. So your yarn over is a little bit different this time as well. You're going to go over top of your right needle and around it and come back towards you underneath your right needle. And I need to move my stitch back where it belongs in front of that first stitch there. There we go. So now I have my yarn over and my yarn is back where it belongs toward me. Now you've got to knit 2 together again because you decreased, but when you did that yarn over, you did another increase. I'm going to switch my yarn around, make it easier. So you want to knit 2 together and yarn over. Not knit 2 together, I'm so sorry. Purl 2 together. So you want to, once again, you want to pick up your last yarn over that you did and the stitch next to it and you want to make sure your right needle is over the top of your left needle this time again, and you want to bring your yarn up and over your right needle, which I'm trying to show you, and back under your right needle. And again, pull it through. This time you only have one stitch on your needle, and you're sliding 2 stitches off your left needle. So where I started with 6 stitches, I now have 5 stitches, and then you just purl your last stitch, or you purl the rest of the way across, because you're going to have more stitches on yours. So you just purl each stitch individually all the way across. Okay, so you'll knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 2 together, and then you'll purl 1, purl 2 together, yarn over, purl 2 more together, and then purl across the rest of the way. When you get to the end of your purling, or the end of your row, you will turn your needle just like you have before, and the stitches, I'm sorry folks, and the stitches are now that were on your right needle becomes your left needle. And you're going to purl your first stitch. Well, make sure your yarn is towards you, and you're going to go in with your right needle. You're going to go in this way, so you're going to come in that loop there, and it's on top of your left needle, and you're going to go over top of your right needle, so over top and underneath and back through. And then you're going to pick up the first and second stitch. So for me, that's the last yarn over I did. You won't be doing that until you get down to the last few stitches. And then you're going to go over and under. So over and under, and off, so you have 1 stitch. Then you're going to take and do your yarn over. So you're going to take it over the top of your right needle and back around under your right needle, so it's back in front where it needs to be. When you get down to your last 4 stitches, or 5 stitches, you're going to be knitting 1, and purling 1, purling 2 together, doing your yarn over, and then your last 2 stitches will be purled together. But until you get to that point, you purl 2 together, and then you'll purl, so purl, make sure your right needle's on top of your left needle, and purl, take your yarn over top and underneath your right needle and pull that through, and you should only have 1 stitch on your right and the 2 stitches on the left one coming off. And then you'll purl on across. So when you get to your last 5 stitches and you purl the 1, purl the 2 together, yarn over, and purl the last 2 together, you will have your last 4 stitches. You're going to switch it over, and you are going to make sure your yarn is towards you. Okay, and you're just going to purl all 4 stitches. We're not going to make any yarn overs. We're not going to purl 2 together. Just going to purl. So your right needle goes in between the knot and the stitch and the left needle, and over top of the left needle, And you're going to come over top of your right needle, over top of the right needle. Yep, I keep saying it, don't I? Okay, over top and underneath your right needle. So I was trying to do it so you could really see it, but see, it's over top and underneath, and purl through. And you're just going to do that for all four. Even your yarn over, you're just going to put your needle into the yarn over through that loop over top of your left needle, and the yarn goes over top and underneath rather than under and over. And again, you're going to go well, come on now. Over and under. Over and under. And off, of course. So now you've done your last row of purls. We're going to do the knitted bind off. But I want to show you something. You see this side where you have the knots? That's where you purled. This side, that purl looks like a knit stitch or a V. Can you, yeah. So it's a V. That's what your knit stitch on the right side would look like. And if you knit on one side, it's going to be a purl bump on the back side. Oops, sorry. A purl bump on the back side. And if you purl on one side, the other side is going to be a knit stitch. I had a good knit stitch there a minute ago, but a knit stitch, V, a nice little V. Okay? Now we're going to bind off, and we're going to do the knitted bind off because it's easier to share and to show. So to bind off, you're going to knit your first 2 stitches on your left needle. So take your right needle and go between the knot and the left needle, under the right needle and over top of the right needle. Pull it through, don't lose your stitch, and slide it off the left needle. And you're going to do that again. So that you have 2 stitches on your right needle as well as 2 on your left needle. This is your first stitch, the stitch that's nearest the point. This is your second stitch. So you're going to take your left needle into your second stitch, and you're going to pull it over top of the first needle. You want to leave that first needle on your right needle, and you want to take that other stitch that you just pulled over top and slide your left needle out and let it drop. Okay, so that's your first bound off stitch. So you go again, you knit your second stitch off of your left, you take the second, you knit another stitch off your left needle. I don't want you to go over here and try to knit that last stitch. Knit that first stitch that's on the left needle now. It becomes the first stitch on your right needle. And you take the second stitch on your right needle up and over the first stitch, leaving the first stitch on the needle and dropping the second stitch off the needle. Now one more stitch and you knit it. Okay, so that leaves you with 2 stitches. So all you have left is your 2 stitches. And you take your second stitch and you hold on to your first stitch because you don't want it to come off the needle yet. Okay, so try to make sure you keep that just like that, and pull your left needle out. You can put your left needle down now. Now, because this yarn is pretty big and it doesn't come out very easy, you can just take your right needle out as well. You'll cut or break your yarn and you have a new tail. And you take the tail and you put it right through your last stitch and pull it through just like that, and then give it a tug, and you have bound off your last stitches. So if you did a 44 stitch grandmother's favorite dishcloth, and when you get done, you should be able to turn it so that it looks like a square, and it will be a very pretty dishcloth. Then to weave in your ends, you will need some sort of a darning needle or even a crochet hook. Now, I personally prefer to use a darning needle. I find it faster and easier than a crochet hook. But, somebody else may tell you that using a crochet hook is faster and easier. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with and what you want to use. So what I'm laying out here are some different types of darning needles. I wanted to show you some of these. I thought I had another darning needle here that was a little bit smaller, but I'll show you these. This blue one is rather a big one, and it's great if you have bulky work or worsted weight work or whatever. And these come in a little bit smaller sizes as well and shorter. So if you for smaller weight yarns. Then you have this one, which is all eye with a little bit of a point on each end. And these come in package of 4 or 5. They have different sizes, so they go from big or good for bulky all the way down good for lace weight. And the thing about these are really nice if you end up with a very short tail at the end of your work. You don't have to keep rethreading the eye of your darning needle because that yarn can slide back and forth as you work. And you'll see what I'm talking about as you work your ends into your finished knitting project. Then this one, which I really like, and it's called a wool needle. You can look it up. There's 3 to a package, and it has this nice big flexible loop. So it's got that nice flexible loop there, and you can put your yarn in there. And this is the one I'm going to use. So to weave in your ends, you're going to thread the eye of your needle just like you would. And what I do is if my yarn is toward me, I go in through that loop like that. Okay? Oh, that's not a good sign, is it? That's okay. That's all right. I'll grab some Gorilla Glue and fix that. It happens. It's loose. They're well used and well loved, I promise. But they're easily fixed. I feel pretty sure. So I'll show you this one. Even though this is a little bit bigger needle than what I need. But like I said, if you got a short end, you can just bring it down, let it slide down with the needle. So now this yarn is to the back, so we'll go in from the back of there. To me, that makes a prettier weaving in. It can't really tell the difference unless you're weaving through 2 different colors. But then again, with this yarn, that just looks like it's another stitch. And then, of course, this is a little big for this yarn. And then back through that way. And you don't have to weave in the whole end. Just a little bit of it. I went in through this loop here. I'm going to go back this way. and in through one more loop, and you can do this. You can weave the whole end in if you want to, or you can just weave in a few stitches. But I do suggest going back the way you came. It just makes it a little bit more or less likely to pull back out and come undone. And so I just went back that way one more time. So I've got my end woven in. You take your scissors and you clip off what's left. And then you go to the other end and you weave it in. Now, later videos I will be showing you how to not have ends to weave in. I'll be showing you how to do different bind offs and different cast ons, and how to do different stitches. And I'm also going to do a video on your knitting essentials, so your notions, and we'll go over some yarns as well at some point. Each yarn has a good use. Some yarns have use, you can use for just about everything and anything, and some yarns you may not want to do that. I just want to wish everyone who has watched this a fine day, a blessed day, and my prayers are with you for whatever you may be going through. Much love to you. Just remember, you are loved and you are important. So have a wonderful day. Have a great day tomorrow. Bye, everybody.